Well, you know what time it is.
Guys, welcome to Bad Wrench Live. This is our wrap up on our '03 Honda Accord. So, what we're doing today is we're going to fix that AC system that we noticed a problem with. I also did a brake inspection and we're good on the brakes. So, that part of the video, we're not going to get too deep into the woods. So, I will probably do a recap of this project. I will cover everything that we've done in this video as far as what we've done to the car already, and this car will be going back to its owner. Now, I still got to talk to them and see if they want to sit down and do a special live stream. We are considering that as well. Also, I'm debating on going back and streaming back on my cell phone, guys. We're just not getting the reach and views having this awesome setup, which is really disappointing to me. I really do like bringing you guys the news, but what we might do is I might shift this to the after show and then do the streaming setup that you guys now see in the after show. And then for our main projects, I'm just going to stream from my phone just to get the engagement up because we're not getting the reach that we need to get. Yes, like Aim High said, make sure you guys say hi in the chat when you guys come in. If you got any questions, please leave those in the chat. Also, if you are one of my mods and you guys are checking in, please, mods, check in. That way I know that you guys are in the chat. I know we're getting started later today, guys. There's something over here that I will be showing on the after show. So, guys, for as little as $3 a month, you can get the after show. The after show, I will go into much deeper news topics. I'll say things that I won't say on the general channel here. The general channel can get me black flagged if I say the wrong things. So, in order to alleviate that problem, I'm going to be moving most of that stuff behind the paywall. It's the way I have to do it in order for me to keep bringing you guys content. Because if I don't get the reach, I can't keep doing the show. And that's just the straight up truth of it. If we don't get the reach and we don't start growing, I can't keep going. So it's important for us to kind of figure out what's working for us and then try to do that again and again each week. So me and my producer will be working behind the scenes and we will be having some talks later today. We were really busy this morning and weren't able to discuss some of these topics, but we will probably do that tonight. Usually after I get done filming, guys, we go do a recap meeting. We kind of discuss things that have happened, things that we can change, things we can do differently. It's all part of why we bring you guys this content and how we can bring it to you guys at the best possible quality. Unfortunately, nobody is really jiving with this streaming setup. So if they're not jiving with the streaming setup, then I gotta change up what I'm doing. But thank you guys for tuning in on this Saturday. Today's topic is fixing and charging AC systems. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and do our announcements. So guys, like I said, consider joining the members only area for as little as $3 a month. You guys can get extra content, early release topics. You guys will get to see when we change out projects. You guys will get behind the scenes things. Today, anyone who's in the members only area will actually get to see the new car that's coming to the channel. The rest of the people might not see this until either next week or the following week. I'm not quite sure how it's going to line out. It might be the following week because I do have some stuff lined up and I know I'm going to be super busy here coming up in about 2 weeks. About a week and a half, actually. Week and a half, I'm going to be super busy and I will not be doing a whole lot. In fact, I may not even stream that weekend. So I got to figure that stuff out and line those details out. But I will let you guys know. More than likely, I will be taking a hiatus that week. It's an important week for me, and I am not going to push to do news topics and stuff like that because News topics do take a little bit of time of researching. I do have to put some time in it, read the article, find out what they're trying to say. And that does kind of distract from the other things that I would want to do that week. So there's a good chance that you guys are not getting a stream next week. So at least I'm pretty sure it's next week. No, actually, I think it's going to be the week after. I think it's the week after, guys. Either way, I'll let you guys know. I'll send out a note for you guys. As far as the rest of the announcements, guys, continue hitting the like button and the subscribe. We really are trying to build a channel. I really do want to bring you guys more content. I do want to be able to bring you guys a merch store. We can't do this if we're not growing. The growth has been really slow. So in order to get us pointed in the right direction, I do got to get somewhat aggressive with this. So it's going to be important in the next couple of weeks as we kind of tinker with things and try new things out. August is going to be a big month to try to get our numbers to kind of turn around. We have not been seeing the growth that we've seen in the beginning of the year. It has tapered off, meaning that if it's tapered off, something we did is kind of causing that problem. So that's on our end to look at, but thank you guys. Let's go ahead and transition into the main topic. All right, so the main topic here is this Honda Accord, and the main topic is it'd help if I wouldn't drop my parts. Our main topic has to do with these little valves right here. These little valves are the reason we couldn't charge the AC last week. Had we been able to change that AC, or charge it, if we would have been able to charge it, we would have been good. This thing would have went back together. I could have given this back to the customer this past week, and I would have had this garage space freed up. Unfortunately, it did not go that way. So what we're going to do, okay, all right, my producer just dropped a note that the ads are on. Guys, I tried doing it without ads and streaming it, and when I did, they destroyed my reach. I wasn't able to reach you guys. So I did have to turn ads back on for this stream. I want to see if that changes how many people we get into the stream. But if our numbers don't turn around, I may choose to not stream from the streaming software. I may choose to go from my mobile device. And honestly, I might have to do that. But yes, getting back into this project. So we did a lot to this one. I'm going to recap everything, but first we want to get this Schrader valve in it. We need to oil that little piece of rubber that you see, that little black piece. Camera doesn't like to focus too quickly. So that little piece right there. Okay, so my producer's saying, but then we missed something. All right, let me go in and see if it lets me shut it down. It may not let me modify now that I'm live. Let me see. All right. So, producer, let me know if you get any more ads. I just turned that off, and maybe I have to turn it off before I start the stream. Something that I'll have to work on for the future here. Maybe I have to leave it on while it's promoting and then turn it off right before I go live. I know they've gotten really aggressive with ads, guys, especially if a channel is shadow banned. I know I said the word, I should have just said shadowed. But if a channel is shadowed, what happens is they're not allowed, or they over add the channel so that people don't stick around. So, and if you shut them off, then they don't push your stream. That's the alternative. So, see how this works. All right, so we got that set up, guys. All right, so our topic is getting this Schrader valve in, drawing a vacuum, and checking the system. It's important for us to draw that vacuum. If we can't hold vacuum, it won't take the Freon, meaning that it's going to leak it right back out. Before we put this back in, we need to lubricate the O-rings on this. Now, you have to be careful what you use because you do not want to deteriorate the O-rings. I'm going to show you guys what to use and how to do this properly. But also, we need to clean out the tube that it's going to go in, meaning that we're going to grab a paper towel and twist it up, stick it down in there, twist it to clean all the gunk out. We don't want to run this in with a bunch of gunk in there and have it block up the seal. That would give us a false reading. I also got to be careful not to show you guys what's to my left, because, yeah, that's for the after show today, guys. You guys will see it. It will make an appearance. There's a bunch of things that I want to do to this vehicle. So it's going to be a regular on the channel. It's just, right now, I really do want to support the people who are supporting the channel. So by me supporting the people who are being paid members, they get additional content. So all right, so I cleaned it out. I also make sure that you don't tear the towel and leave paper towel down in there. So I always take it back apart and make sure it didn't pull any of the paper towel and leave it down in there. I also take a light and look down in there. What this does is make sure that everything is clean inside there before we put that valve stem in. Okay, so it's clean. Clean is only half the problem. What we also have to watch for is when we put it back in, we don't want to tear the seal and we want it to actually seal up. We need to put something on it. Now this is where you have to be careful. You don't want to put something that goes against the refrigerant, meaning you don't want to have a conflict with it. Also, you don't want to put something in it like a thick oil, because that thick oil will contaminate your air conditioning system. So I'm going to look for what I need here. Normally I keep a little bit of this stuff on hand just for cases like this when I'm charging an AC system. I want to see if I left some or if I did a madhouse clean and I got rid of some of it. Welcome guys to this Saturday. We're here fixing an AC system. And I'm looking for what I need, but I don't quite see it. Okay, so we're going to discuss the alternatives when you do not have compressor oil. Or you use the proper AC oil right here. This is what you're going to use. This is oil that can be found in air conditioning systems. So this is designed for a 134A system. This is the oil that you would pour into it before you put your charge in it. The only time you add oil is when you have a fresh system, meaning that you just put a new condenser evaporator, and a compressor on it. If you put a compressor on it, you do need to replace that actuator bottle. Actuator bottle has to be replaced along with the pump, because whenever the pump grenades, it puts the parts into that reservoir. This is the oil for the compressor. When we lube up that seal, this stuff will make sure that we don't tear the seal and that we're not contaminating the system. This is an important process when you're replacing the Schrader valves. Don't skip this. Make sure you get this. I will talk to you guys briefly about an alternative that you can use. And this alternative that you can use is just checking some things. This alternative that you can use, if you use it, you shouldn't try to charge the system right away. The reason for that is you need time for that oil to dissipate, to go away. You can use this, but I don't recommend this. This only works if you absolutely have to. And you spray it on your finger and wipe the seal so that you only get it on the seal. Again, not recommended, not the way I would go. The proper way is to get the proper oil. Right there, you guys can see it. PAG 100. Get this at Napa. This is an oil. And I did shake it and I got a little bit of oil coming out. That's actually perfect for what I need. I just wipe a little bit onto here and make sure that that seal is lubricated. Yeah, some of this stuff is so thin that if you just accidentally turn it upside down, you'll get some leaking out. So luckily, I had compressor oil. I'm happy about that because now that allows me to drop this valve stem in without contaminating the system. I'll be able to tighten this valve stem up. Remember, 4 foot-pounds, guys. 4 foot-pounds is what we need in order to put that in there. If you over-tighten this, you could wreck the line. Okay, so our valve stem's in. Now, like last week, what we did is we started drawing a vacuum. This is really super important. We do not want to bottom these out on our new valve stem. We could wreck our brand new valve stem. So we clip them on and then lightly turn them down. We do not crank hard on these valves. So when we hit a spot where the valve literally stops sliding in our fingers, we stop. We don't try to over tighten these because over tightening them can wreck the valves. Okay, so I got that. Now I'm going to plug in my pump and we're going to draw a vacuum on this system. We're also going to open our lines here. All right, we just heard the system draw down. It was a deeper tone. It's now in the process of pulling all this air out of this system. If we don't pull the air out, we can't put the Freon in. That's how this system works. If there's any air in the system, the air takes up the space that the Freon needs to be. This is why pulling this vacuum is so important. If you don't pull the vacuum on it and you just put a can in it, you're going to be fighting the air that's in the system for where the Freon should be. And remember, these vehicles run on a certain pounds and ounces. So this one was 1 pound, 6 ounces, meaning if it's 16 pounds in it or 16 ounces in 1 pound, then you're going to have 24 ounces to fill this system. If half of that is taken up by air, you're not going to get enough Freon in the system to cool this car down. This is why it's super important to do this process. And we are looking really good. We're pulling a vacuum of 29, 30 is maxing out the gauge, which is where we normally are. We normally want to be as close to that 30 as we can get. And we want to pull that vacuum on there for a good 5-10 minutes. You don't want to just, oh, I'm down there and close it up. Don't do that. Let it go. Let it pull all the stuff out of there. Because over time, it might pull air from behind the compressor, which is air that's stuck in the system. We need to get that out too. You can't run the engine during this. Do not run the engine when you're pulling a vacuum. It won't work. Just let the vacuum pump pull out everything that it possibly can pull out. Give me ones in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. Give me ones in the chat. Check a few things. I don't have any of my mods on yet. Okay, the system is drawing down. I can hear it behind me. I've got the news topics up for this week. We're only going to cover a few of them, guys, and then we're going to do more of the news stuff over in the Full Throttle After Show. And I will be talking with my producer today and seeing if we want to continue doing the Full Throttle After Show in our members only, or if we want to bring that to the main channel. We need to figure out a way to make it to where people that are members are getting additional stuff. But until we get enough members over there, it's kind of hard to justify a separate live stream for nobody that's on there, because it is only open to members only, and that means that even the mods can't get in. So the mods have to become members. They need to hit that join button down below, guys. There's a join button down below along with subscribe buttons. If you're not joined to the channel, you will not get the Full Throttle After Show. And that's its current configuration. All right. So it sounds like the pump has drawn down as far as it needs to draw down. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go to sealing this system off. Guys, we did this last week. What we do is we leave the pump run. We close our valves up here. Okay, so we closed our valves. Now we turn off our pump and we disconnect our line. With our line disconnected, we screw this back onto the valve itself to seal the system up. Okay, so now the system's sealed. We now need to reopen these valves and let this sit for 10 minutes. And we can't lose more than 10 after opening these valves. So if we lose more than 10 on the vacuum gauge, if it goes from 29 down to 18, we got a leak. We need to figure out where the leak is before we can charge the system. That tells me that if there's a leak, we can't proceed. I really would like to proceed with this car because this is the last thing I need to do to this car. Just checking some stream activities, guys. Yeah, I'm going to have to change up a few things. All right. Yeah, there's a lot for me and my producer to talk about. So, we will be making some big changes, guys, to the streaming. Big changes. I really did like this setup, but if we're not getting out there, then there's no point of this. And it's clear that we're not getting the reach off of this setup. We have done a lot of upgrades, guys. So to see that this isn't clicking on the YouTube side and they're not promoting our stream just tells me we got to go back to what was working. And what was working was when I streamed from my mobile device, when I streamed from my cell phone. And the only thing that made my cell phone look bad is I did not have a very good internet signal, which I have corrected. So this is kind of all behind the scenes stuff for me and my producer and you guys that are tuning in. We're giving the AC system time to figure out if we have a leak. Again, if we have a leak, we have to stop, we have to fix before we can move on. If we find that there's a hole in the condenser, we can't go on. If we find that there's a seal leaking on the pump, we can't proceed. All of this stuff has to be sealed up, and the way we do that is by testing how long it holds a vacuum. Again, like I said, it can't lose more than 10 within 10 minutes. If it does, we got a leak and we cannot go on. So far we're looking good. So, and I really did, I was pretty certain we were going to hold that vacuum anyway because we held it last week. Where we had the failure is when we disconnected the lines. I could hear it hissing out of the valve stem. How do you check the valve stems, guys? Simple. You check the valve stems by simply drawing a vacuum on it, give it time, disconnect your line, and listen for a hiss. Hear air rushing by, or almost like it's being pulled in like a vacuum. Sometimes they make a pretty weird sound. It just sounds like it's drawing in on itself. When you hear that, it tells you that the valve stem inside there is gone bad. It could be on the high side, it could be on the low side, but either way, you have a bad valve stem and you need to figure out which one, replace it before you charge the system. Why is this system so important to make sure that we can hold the vacuum? Let's go ahead and cover that real quick. The reason that it needs to hold a vacuum is air does take up the same space as Freon. When you choose to ignore that and just put a can in, you're fighting a system that might already be half full. In order to make sure that your repair is successful, you need to draw the vacuum on it like we did right here. What do you need to do that? Well, simply you need the pump. You need these manifold gauges behind you, and you need to hook them up to your high side and your low side of your air conditioning. So on your AC lines, usually located on this side of the vehicle, you will find caps that say H and L on it. The L will be a smaller one, the H will be a bigger one. You need to remove those caps, put the couplers on it, and pull that vacuum. When you pull out that air, you're giving all the space that's inside that system for the Freon. And this is how you make your AC systems really, really cold. Is if you don't draw a vacuum on it, it will not get cold. Give me ones if that made sense to you guys. Twos if not, and then tell me why. Really wanted to make that nice and clear for you guys so that you guys understood the AC system. This is one system that you need to make sure you do it right. Otherwise, you have failures. And failures means that your AC is not going to work, you're wasting Freon, and you're still going to have to evacuate the system again to work on it. So that's why this is an important process to verify that this is working. We have not lost a single pound. That is a really, really good sign. Awesome. So what I'm doing for you guys now is I'm kind of working behind the scenes here. I need to grab my charging hose to charge the system. And then I'm going to start setting up to get ready to charge this. Okay. So this is what our charging hose looks like. Okay. Charging hose is very, very basic. This one comes with a trigger. And when you're charging the system, you will need to start the car. Pro tip, while you're charging, turn your AC on max, turn your recirculate on so that it pulls the Freon through the system. It won't kick the pump on until it detects enough Freon in the system to turn the pump on. So that might happen after one can. It might not happen until you just start the second can, depending on how big the system is. So now that we know that, what we can do is plan this out a little bit better. Make sure that we're good to go with our can before we clip this on. Now, some of these have a turn down screw here. Some of these have a turn down to where you turn these down and you can push that needle down that we just replaced. Other ones, you just have to snap it on there quick, and you're going to lose some vacuum when you do it. You're going to lose vacuum. But the important thing is you pulled a lot of air out so that the system is still sealed. And what you never want to do is clip this on without a can attached. You will drop all the vacuum out of the system, and then that defeats the purpose. So always twist the can on. And I try to go to where it's somewhat snug on the valve. I don't need to get too carried away. This is only plastic. You can break this valve real easy. So I just lightly twist it down. I've got my Freon ready. Now, once this is done, we're going to go ahead and unhook and make sure we didn't lose out of the valves. While we're doing that, we're going to listen very carefully that we're not having that air rushing noise that we had before. All right, so we are good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back these off. This closes the system. So I'm going to turn these all the way out. By turning these all the way out, they release the needle. So now that needle is all the way up. Now I can disconnect these lines. And I got no noise. Okay, so we got no noise. This is a good sign. So now that I disconnected this, so what I'm trying to do is bleed off some of the pressure. There we go. I want to get my manifold gauges zeroed out. Don't store your manifold gauges, guys, with pressure on them. It's not good for them. So I reconnect my couplers. There's one for the red side, one for the blue side. Be careful not to tear the O-rings inside the couplers. I'll show you guys those O-rings quick. There's O-rings inside these couplers. Don't tear them, so make sure you go on straight with it. Don't force them. They'll clip on really nice. I leave the valves extended out. I don't run them in because I don't want to accidentally clip this on and have it press that needle and seat and max it out. So when I store them, I always store them with that part of it out. Now that I'm done with my pump, I'm going to put my seal on it. This is just a cap to keep dirt and stuff out of the pump. This is called tool maintenance, guys. If you don't take care of your tools when you need them, they're not going to be there for you. Okay, so I got my pump all wrapped up with its cord. I will put that back in its box later. I have a box for it. Okay, so that's put away. What do we got to do next? Well, the next step is we start this car. When we start it, we're going to flip all of our AC. We're going to max out our fan speed. We're going to put it on AC. We're going to turn on the recirculate. What this will do is kick everything running at max. So when we start dumping Freon in, it's going to pull it through the system. You have to do this or it won't take the charge. This part of it you won't mess up. Just starting the car will not cause this, any issues here. But you're not going to get the charge to go if you do not start the car. So don't just put the can on there without starting the car and turning your AC on max. Okay, so we have the car running right now. We have our can hooked up. Right here's our can. We have it hooked up. We're ready to go ahead and put the first can in it. So I just heard the fan kick on. That fan is actually for the air conditioning system. It's starting to draw Freon out of the can. First can empty. Our pump has still not turned on. This might be something where we're chasing a pump. We might have a bad pump on here, guys. All right, so before I call this repair a failure, I need to understand why. A little bit left in that can yet. I need to figure out why it's not kicking the compressor on. So what's happening, guys, is we put the 2 cans in it that it required. It won't turn the compressor on. So we have a wire that's put in there in a place that I don't like, and I don't think it's right. So I need to figure out what's going on with that wire. So this could turn into quite the... But we're going to continue to take a look at it here. This is the last step before I give this car back. So I need to figure this out. And maybe the pump just gave up the ghost. And if that's the case, then I got to pull everything back out, replace the pump, replace that reservoir that I talked about, and put in the new filter. Basically, it's an orifice tube that allows it to keep the oil out of the rest of the system. Those all have to be replaced when we do a pump. So if it comes down to a pump situation, that's what we're going to have to do. First, I need to figure out what this electrical wire is that they have. So they have a very weird wire tied in here, and I do not know if it's for the air conditioning. This could pose some bigger challenges, guys. Somebody was in here playing around with wiring. I absolutely despise when people play around with wiring like this, because now in order for us to figure it out, we need to figure out why it's doing that. And oftentimes it's because somebody cut a corner somewhere. Rather than them not fixing what's the real issue, they decided to try to put a jumper wire in it. Those jumper wires oftentimes can be a point of failure for the system, because even though it might get it working in the temporary, it may not work in the long term. So in order to fix this, I'm pulling some wire out. So I have this set up as a jumper wire, guys, for this reason. So what I'm going to do is clip this onto here. Strip this back. At this point, we're in trial and error territory, guys. We have no idea what that wire goes to, other than possibly the pump. And there's already a ground wire on the pump. So let's go ahead and start it. Let's touch this and see if we can get our pump to kick on. If we can, then this is what's going on with our AC system. Somebody hot wired it. I hate it when other people mess with wiring, guys. Especially when they do cobble job things like this. This is a prong. This is designed to stick down into a connector, and it's meant to shortcut or take a shortcut on where it's supplying power. Now I have to figure out where that shortcut needs to be because now the wire came out. So I'm going to try to clean some of that corrosion off of there since I know that this is a power wire. Try to give it the best possible outcome to get this to work, guys. So what this looks like is somebody blew a fuse somewhere and they thought they would bypass the fuse and run it hot right to the system. Oftentimes what we have to do to figure this out is we have to go into our fuse panel, figure out which one is for our AC clutch. There will be one that is a relay for the AC. I see where that is. So it looks like the 7.5 looks like a clutch. Yep, blowing all day long. Let's see if putting a new one in and not hooking that wire up, let's see if we can get this to work. Just bought a new box of fuses, guys. I'm looking for those right now. see, do we got any 7.5s in this little one? So do not overfuse it, guys. Do not put a bigger fuse in it than what it recommends, because if you have an electrical short, you're going to fry something else in the system. Take your time and put the right fuse in it. So our fuse was a 7.5. I've got a brand new 7.5 right here. Mods, if you're in here, please check in. Awesome. All right. So we're going to plug this in now. What I'm going to do is remove this wire. I could put this wire back in whenever I want, but I'm going to remove it right now because this is a cheater wire. What they're trying to do is poke past the coating, clip a wire that goes over to the battery, and that supplies the power without using that relay. The problem is that relay will also trip the power. So if you don't have that fuse in there, it can cause the whole system to not work. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out where I'm missing stuff, where things are not working where they're supposed to. I just flipped a relay that I need, so I got to grab that. So this is a 40 ampere that I pulled. When I pulled this, it shut the car down. So I see another spot that's supposed to have a 40 ampere for an optional. I'm going to see if I got one of those. I did just buy an entire kit of these style fuses because I've started coming across these more and more. If you guys are going to work on cars, this is important stuff to have. So I'm pulling these. Basically, we're tracking down why the compressor is not kicking on. If the compressor doesn't kick on, you don't have AC. And when you put enough Freon to the system, it should automatically kick that pump on once it's reached enough Freon in the system. And it's not kicking it on because the pump is not kicking on. I also noticed a jumper wire over there, which we should not have had a jumper on it. Okay, I plugged the 40 ampere into the fuse panel. I'll spin you guys a little bit so you guys can see the whole car. So right now, guys, we're chasing wiring problems. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut this down so I can at least talk to you guys through this process. There's something going on with the wiring. Mike, good to have you in here today. Awesome, awesome. So we are in the process of chasing electrical gremlins on our car. And the electrical gremlins are for the AC system. We already found a blown fuse that was for the clutch underneath the hood. I am now checking fuses underneath the kick panel. What I'm doing now, guys, is I'm just pulling some fuses and looking at these. I need to make sure that these HVACs are working right. There's one HVAC that's missing. That's a 7.5. I'm going to try to plug that one in. See if we can get this working. All right, guys, all fuses are working. We're not getting power. I'm going to guess with what we saw. No, Mike, that does not refer to being in the Air Force. It's a term for setting your sights higher when approaching your faith. That's what that one means. So. Awesome, awesome. All right, guys, so what we have going on is we did everything right. We drew a vacuum, we recharged it like we were supposed to. There's an electrical issue, and I need to track down this electrical gremlin so I can give it back to him. Basically, there's an electrical short at the pump. So I got a feeling that the pump is not receiving power when it's supposed to, which could be very well tied to a bad connector. If that's the case, I could technically take the connector out, because all that one connector does is connect the power wire on the pump. So it's a single wire in, single wire out. Meaning we could cut that, reconnect it with connectors, put it back together, and we shouldn't have any problems. We should be able to aim for getting that to have the voltage that it needs to start. If it's not getting voltage, it's not going to turn the pump on. And that's the reality of what we're doing with that. So, just trying to figure out if I want to try to dig into that wiring yet. I know it's warm right now, and it's going to take a bit to cool that car down. But I ran all relays, I ran all fuses, I ran down everything I possibly could. And guys, yeah, we had a blown fuse for the clutch, so I changed that out. What I could do is probably check to see if that fuse is blowing again. Because if it is, then it's getting power, it's just popping it. Let's see if it blew the fuse or fuse for the clutch again. Oh, that fuse is good. Yeah, so underneath there, all of our fuses are working the way they're supposed to. Our relays are in good shape. It's telling me that we have a bad connector issue, which is why they ran the jumper wire in the first place. Anytime we do projects like this, guys, we need to look at what was done prior to us coming in. Number one, they have zip ties here for our fans. That means at some point they took those out. There was a jumper wire plugged into the socket over there. I'm going to guess that they had a wire running up across here over to the battery, and we're trying to siphon battery voltage off of the 12-volt connector here, meaning that the clutch would have always had power to it. That's not the right way to do it. We need to run the relays and the switches that are in the system so that it's not running them while the car is off. This could be a problem if somebody hot wires this up, because it's going to constantly be drawing 12 volt, meaning that we could have a short there. In order to fix this, we need to figure out where that short is in the system. And judging by where they had this plugged into, guys, don't ever use these. These are for diagnostic purposes, not to fix your car. I saw this plugged into the connector for the AC compressor. That tells me somebody already knew there was a problem there and tried to bypass it. So now what I have to do is I have to figure out how I can jump this and correct the issue. I am hoping that it's just in the connector, and all I have to do is cut the connector out, hardwire some stuff in that I can put in a manual connect, and it'll fix the clutch. That's what I'm hoping for. But this is a diagnostic tool. This is not a permanent solution to the problem. Somebody put this in there as a permanent solution. Whenever you got shops that do shady stuff like this, especially if they're trying to sell cars, don't go back and buy another car from them. And if you see it while you're on the test drive, don't buy from them. This is shoddy work. Awesome, awesome. Good to have you guys in here today. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you're not subscribed. Consider joining for as little as $3 a month to the members only. Members only are going to get to see what's over there around 4:30 today. We have something over there. Non-members will get to see it probably in a few weeks. What state is the car from? All right. South Dakota. But that's all I'm going to give you guys. You guys will see it. Don't get me wrong. It's going to come to the channel. We're going to do projects on it. We're going to do a lot with this car. But my members only, they're going to get the first peek at this. Also, I will be working on bringing more content to the members only area, especially some of the news topics, guys. Some of the news topics kind of got me in a little bit of hot water. So I'm going to be moving some of the news topics over to the Full Throttle after show. That way I can put that behind a paywall and I won't get beat up for it as bad on the channel. Rust belt. Yes, but I looked this car up and down and there's no rust on it. I looked it up and down. It is a clean car with a lot of potential. All right, so let's see if I can even get in here to fix this wiring. This all might be really hot right now and I might not be able to touch this until later today. So that cheater system that they were running, they were trying to bypass the connector that is bolted right to the fan shroud. That connector goes down to the actual AC pump clutch, meaning that it will use electricity to kick the clutch on. And that's what powers your AC. Because the cheater was stuffed into the plug on the car side, that tells me that the connector has failed. Wish I could get the connector loose, because if the connector is all green, crusted, it will tell me everything I need to know. And because it does not want to come out, it's a good indication that it might be melted. Should have been enough Freon in the system to get this thing to work. Okay, I got it up to where I can grab onto it now. Let's see if I can stuff a screwdriver in there and separate the prong. Chuck Chat's here for you. No, I meant the current project AC problem. Yeah, chances are it's rust belt. This car is from Minnesota. There is rust on the rockers. There's a bunch of stuff. The car that I'm going to show you in the Full Throttle After Show is from South Dakota. This one's from Minnesota, guys. So this one is from the Rust Belt. Connector does not want to work with me at all. There it goes. So I see it, now I need to test it. I'm going to test to make sure that I got connection down to the pump by using the sound feature on my multimeter. If I'm making good connection, I will hear this sound. If I don't have good connection, I will not hear that sound. Okay, I did not get anything there. So now I'm going to go to here. Okay. Let's see if I can get a jumper wire to work for me. Because if the jumper wire works, then I can just bypass it and I can run my own power. Like they did. It's not 100% the way I want to do it, but right now I need to know if the pump itself is even good. Okay. So I got that jumper wire in the pump. This is on the pump side connector only. We'll take our jumper wire and hook it up. And then what I can do is start the car. And if I touch this to the battery and it works, then that's what's going on, is we have a bad connector. Yeah, there's some gremlins around here. Definitely, because of where the car is from, definitely some electrical gremlins. All right, that answered my question. All right, so what happened was as soon as I went and I started touching this to the battery, the end of this started getting hot. Left my finger on it just a bit too long. Didn't quite burn anything, but definitely could feel the heat there right away. That tells me the pump is shot. The electrical portion of it has arced out to where the pump won't kick in, meaning we're looking at putting a pump into this. I need to contact the customer on this one. So for now, this project comes to a grinding halt as of right now. They were asking me for the car so that they could put this car to work, and if I do, if I go and order the pump, it could take a bit because this is a Honda. This is foreign parts. There could be a back order on all of these parts. And we can't just do the pump without doing the reservoir and that orifice tube. This is the problem with repairs, guys. Sometimes they don't go the way we want. And sometimes things just pop up out of the blue. Hitting those weird things when we do this really does kind of make us chase our own tail at times. So, yeah, as of right now, this project is at a stop. I'm going to find out what the customer wants to do. They might want to put this thing in a service right now and try to make some money with it. And that might be their best bet. It's not going to be comfortable because there's not going to be AC in it, but I also have to see what kind of lead time I have on an AC pump, a reservoir, and that orifice tube. Really hate giving that kind of news to my customers, but there's not much I can do at this point. It's already drawn a vacuum. The worst part about it is now I'm going to be probably forced to crack the system, pull everything apart just to get that pump out of there. And I'm going to wind up probably putting hoses and seals and the whole 9 yards to get it back to where it needs to be. So, not good. Not good at all. And definitely not how I wanted this to go. All right. let's go ahead and recap this before we move on to our next topic. I also was going to give you guys a rundown of everything that I've done to this car. So let's cover this real quick. When this car came in, almost next to no maintenance had been done to it. What we had to do was go through and decide what needed to be done and what didn't. Knowing where they were going to put this car, I needed to make a decision on how far the maintenance stuff went. Obviously, you have to check brakes. Obviously, you have to check the battery and see how long the battery has been in there. That battery was well over 7 years, had to go. Next, we noticed an alternator that when we took it out to replace a belt tensioner that was making noise, that the alternator itself was making noise, and it was a brand new alternator. Because of that, we had to replace both the alternator and the belt tensioner to put it back together. We did that. Then we put a set of spark plugs in it with a set of coils. The reason we did them as a pair is this thing has over 134,000 miles on it, meaning that both the coils are past their life along with the plugs. So both had to be done. Next, we did a throttle body. The cruise control wasn't working because it broke off of the throttle body. This is a drive-by cable, not a drive-by wire, meaning that there are cables that run your cruise control and run the foot feed. I had to replace the throttle body completely in order to fix that issue. Once we did that, we were ready to put it all back together. After checking filters, brakes, and doing all of that fun stuff, the last thing we needed to do is what I call the fishbowl delete. Trying to move you guys around here so you guys showed you a little too much there. So anyone still around, you guys might have gotten a sneak peek of what I'll be talking about in the Full Throttle After Show. But what we did is a fishbowl delete. Nothing on the front glass, because in the state we live in, if you tint the front glass, you will be messed with by the cops. Next, we did the side windows, the back windows, and the rear window. You might ask, what percentage of tint did we go with? Well, we went with 30 on the front, 20 on the back doors, and 30 on the back glass. The reason for this is so that we could actually still see out of the car even if it was at night. And that's the secret. If you're going to window tint, make sure that you can still see out even if you're out after dark. 5% gets so dark you can't see a car. And honestly, if they're not running their headlights or barely running their daytime running lights, you won't see them if you have super dark tint. Now, a lot of tint comes with like ultraviolet block in it, meaning that you could get something that's only a 30% tint, but it blocks 80% of the solar light coming in, meaning that it won't allow the heat to come in, which is the main reason why most people tint. It's to help keep the heat out of the interior. And right now, until I figure out this AC, that's exactly what this system is going to be. They're going to use the window tint to help keep the car cool so that they can drive it. During our oil change, we did all of our maintenance. We got everything up to par. We put new wiper blades on this car. This car is 100% ready to rock and roll and to make money, moving not only stuff for like DoorDash or Uber Eats or anything like that, but it's also ready to haul people. The only thing that's holding us up on the hauling the people part is now this AC. And unfortunately, with this compressor clutch giving out the way it did, we don't have a choice. We're probably going to wind up eating a pump and putting a pump in it. The problem is the lag time and the wait to get that pump. I'm going to make some phone calls after the live stream today and see how long it's going to take for me to get a pump. If it's going to take too long, we might just give them the car back get the parts on order, bring it back in once the parts are in. So that might be what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and branch off into some news topics, guys, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And for anyone who is not joined the channel, guys, if you join, you will get the Full Throttle After Show, which is coming up after this. So after this live stream, we go into the Full Throttle After Show. Inside the Full Throttle After Show, you guys will get an additional video. That additional video is usually wrapping up the project that we're doing. And today is actually the debut of a new vehicle that's coming to the channel. A new one that we bought last weekend. Some of the guys that were in the chat kind of figured it out last week. They're not here today, but that's all right. You guys will get to see this car eventually. So this is more or less just for the members only, that you guys get to see the car beforehand. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to talk about things that we're doing to the car, kind of giving you guys an inside sneak peek of this car and what this car is. So that is for my members only, guys. So consider becoming a members only, so that you guys get this kind of content. Let's go into the news. All right. Set this up here. Okay. All right, so we're on Motor Trend, one of our favorite places to be. You know how it is. We don't always trust what they're doing. This one here, Bronco, they're trying to basically gain the following that they had with the old school Broncos. Unfortunately, these things fall short. The Sportage gets a makeover. It looks more like the Telluride, which is, they are what they are. Don't get me wrong, they're cheap cars that you can buy brand new, but you're going to run into issues. We have issues with our 2020 Kia Soul. Outlander, trying to do an off-road package. Yeah. Fine, I'll cover this one. I can't go as hard as I want on this one, guys, just because of the fact that I need to put this one behind the paywall. But remember I told you guys that car manufacturers are going to use this to jack up the prices?
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone, because I f***ing called it!
That's exactly what this is. This is auto manufacturers taking advantage of higher tariffs. Some of them could build in the US, some of them choose not to. It's tough for an auto manufacturer to come to the US because if they're not guaranteed that the tariffs are going to stay on, they're going to invest millions of dollars to build here in the US, and then the next administration could lift the tariffs and it costs them more money to produce locally because of the higher wages that we get in the US. This is a much bigger problem that we need to find a solution for. If you can't get it to where your people of your country can move around at very low cost, you stifle the country's growth. And this is just facts. I'm not trying to cause any issues, but this is exactly what this is. When you all of a sudden make transportation so unaffordable, you're going to stifle the growth of your country. Yeah, so far they're deflecting tariffs. yada yada. This article right here. Guys, I've talked about this one, and I can't talk about it here. I have to do that in the Full Throttle After Show. That's going to cause me major issues if I start leaning in on this topic, especially with the growth that I'm trying to get off of the channel. I can't go hard in on it the way I want. I have voiced my opinion about this company before. I have voiced why I'm not a fan of when Stellantis bought them in the first place. And I warned everyone what was coming.
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone, because I fucking called it!
I will go in hard on that one on the Full Throttle After Show. So, after the embarrassment that GM had, they took their Corvette that they had that was a hybrid, not an EV. They took the hybrid that had some of the electrical motor and the twin turbo 8-cylinder that they had, and they finally were able to beat Ford's record at Nuremberg. This is not much of a victory in my mind, because their first outing showed all of their failures and showed that they didn't test and they weren't ready when they went out there. And anyone who's ever raced can tell you right now, you either win or you lose. And when they went out the first time, they lost. They lost because they didn't take the time to figure it out and get it right before they went out there. And rather than looking like a hero, they wound up looking like a bunch of... And I only say that because it is a hybrid. It does use the hybrid electric on it. So they deserved that one. Guys, don't fall for this EV lies. These EVs do not get the mileage and range out of them that they should. So don't fall for it, even if they try to make it look modern and sleek and whatever. An EV is an EV is an EV. It's going to get short range. They're going to have electrical issues. Those electrical issues could be deeper and cause car fires. Not only that, but when the batteries have to be replaced, it totals out the car. I leaned a little harder on that than I wanted to, but some of this I got to cover in the Full Throttle After Show, guys. Yeah, there's so much with the EV stuff, guys. I got to cover that over there. Yeah, anyone who doesn't know, Mary Kay does the pink Cadillacs for their salespeople. If someone sells enough, they get a chance at either buying one of these cars, or they can get one of these cars if they sell enough. I'll check back here. So Aim High said we need politicians that actually love America. Manufacturers should stay in America. Yes, the issue is going to come down to whether or not they will. And some of that's going to depend on how long the tariffs are going to stay on. If they're guaranteed that the tariffs are going to remain, then they'll build in the US. If they're going to disappear and other politicians are going to allow this to happen, then they're going to lose a ton of money and they're not going to risk the investment. This is what's holding a lot of auto manufacturers from building in the US. The high cost of the union labor workers is driving them to not want to build in the US. And the only way they're going to fight against this is they need to keep the tariffs high enough on cars coming into the US that are already pre-made outside of the country in order for the manufacturers to succeed in that goal. And the more that we jack up those union labor rates, the more and more the cars become unaffordable. And that's the real secret. So we talked about this Halo drive pack that puts out as much torque on an electric motor as an entire V8 engine to a single wheel. Again, guys, I described to you what happens when we do that. What people want to do is they'll want to put more than one on the vehicle. Well, when they do that, they're going to consume more battery a lot faster. It's also going to shorten the range of the car. Let's flip over to the drive. This is another new site that I use, guys. So again, they talk about the Ford getting the upgraded Sasquatch package for the 60th anniversary. They're trying to regain some of their popularity with the Bronco from a while ago. This Bronco just doesn't cut it. It doesn't look like the old school. It isn't rugged enough. It doesn't have that. They're tried to make it look square body, but it's not. I mean, it just falls short in so many different categories. Yes, if you clean your tools with WD-40, they won't rust as much. Pretty typical for anyone who does automotive work and that has tools. And guys, all right, hold up. Let's cover this real quick. Guys, you do know that WD-40 is nothing but fish oil, right? That's all it is. It's fish oil. The reason you can use it for everything is it's also biodegradable. So anyone that says WD-40 is toxic, that's not what we're talking about. That being said, WD-40 works for cleaning, also for helping to lubricate things. But here is where a lot of people go wrong. They use WD-40 in door pins and bushings, and as soon as it gets a little wet, the fish oil runs out and it loses all lubricant, meaning that no longer is it lubricated. If you're going to do door pins and bushings, you either need to use a Sil Glide gel that will stay on, or you need to use a white lithium grease. The white lithium will stay stuck to the panel even if you go through a car wash. I don't like to use a ton of white lithium grease because it can really dirty up your door jambs and make things look really nasty. And if you get too carried away with the white lithium, you could actually get rocks into it. So usually I use the Sil Glide, which is what you use on brakes because it resists dust. It fights dust, helps keep dust out, which is what you want. Scrolling down here. So Kawasaki is deciding to make their UTV using the engine out of the Ninja Street Bike. which is putting 250 horsepower to basically a chassis that's probably 3 times heavier than a street bike. It'll make the thing fun to drive, but what I'm concerned about is the repair cost. You're taking a motor that's out of a bike that's used to dealing with a third of the weight, and now all of a sudden you're going to put more weight to it and not beef up the internals inside that engine. I got a feeling if they've done nothing to the engine other than take it off of their street bike motorcycles, they're going to have motor issues. They're going to start going bad. So this might be a short-lived thing. They're supercharging the motor to get more horsepower out of it. But if the internals are small and you're adding more weight, you're putting a lot more stress on that engine. This is why I also said 4 cylinders were not the way to go, guys. I said this a while ago when GM started pushing 4 cylinders in their pickups. I already said that was a really, really, really bad idea, because that means that you're overstressing that engine to do what you need it to do. You're pretty much asking that thing to run as hard as it possibly can for most of its life. And that's extremely hard on internal components. I caught a lot of flack for that one, but guys, I wasn't wrong. We're going to start seeing motors, 4-cylinder motors, fail at a very high rate. We're already seeing them in the Kia Souls. The Kia Soul is a smaller car, but it's still having engine failure issues. Scrolling through the news. Yeah, so they wanted to talk about their big victory, GM's big victory with their Corvette, their ZR1X. What you guys got to remember, hold up. Do you guys remember not too long ago when we talked about this new Corvette and how this can't compete in the hypercar world? Let's not forget how I broke that down and why I said this car is not a hypercar and can never compete in hypercar status. The 2 cars that they're comparing it to is a Ford Mustang and a Porsche. They're not comparing them to a Bugatti or something even bigger than that. They're comparing these. One of them's an American-made vehicle. The other one is, I believe, a German-made vehicle. They're comparing these to companies that basically make daily drivers, not hypercars. So this isn't Lamborghini, this isn't Ferrari, this isn't Bugatti, none of that. They can't compete because of what I said. I said they can't and will not be able to compete in the hypercar status because this car weighs almost 1,000 pounds more than the Bugatti. That weight is tremendous. This is basically like putting an elephant against a cheetah. There is no comparison. The Corvette will not go toe-to-toe with the hypercars. It will lose every single time because it can't compete with a car that's 1,000 pounds less. When you guys are looking for cars and you want to build cars, all right. When you guys want to build cars, when you want to make something fast, you guys need to remember a few key things. Number 1, you want good weight transfer. You want to be able to transfer the weight from the front to the back on a rear-wheel drive car so that you can maintain traction no matter how hard you're jamming the gears. You don't want the traction to break loose at high speed. If you downshift and you're breaking tires loose, you don't have good weight transfer. This is the difference. This is the difference in the hypercar world of having a good competing car and one that's going to fall short every single time. car that weighs this much will not compete with a car that weighs 1,000 pounds less than it. And honestly, it still has less horsepower than the Bugatti. You don't stand a chance. Put your car back on the trailer and go home.
Bruh.
All right, I'll talk about this one here, guys. Apparently, Ford's next-gen breakthrough in the EVs debuts August 11th. So I will be paying attention for this one, and as soon as this comes out, I will report on it. I'm not sure if I will be doing a live stream on that weekend. I'm off that entire week. So chances are I will not be live to do this one. Also, I'm looking at kind of how I'm going to stack out some of my work that I need to do. So the car behind me might just get the AC fixed off the channel now. They need the car, so if I can get the parts, I'll probably just fix that one. But we do have a bunch more stuff coming, guys. So the Hyundai Tucson is supposed to be more boxier looking. This is when a car company gets something that's popular and the body style becomes popular, other car manufacturers copy it. They're probably doing this to compete with like the Explorers and the Broncos. If they were trying to go more rounded, they would look more like the Chevy Blazers. So the fact that they're going more boxier, they're trying to compete in Ford's market for that look. So this one here is just the dangers of modifying your vehicle. This is a scare tactic. This vice grip should have never been on the steering column in the first place. So the reason this probably failed is he wasn't able to keep this tight on here. And when he needed to be able to turn, and especially if there was any force, let's say he hit another car or he hit a guardrail, he could not put enough grip onto this to be able to keep that from wanting to snap around. And it might have held tight, but it might have broken his wrist too. So whatever you guys do, if you're doing stuff like this, do it just to drive it around your yard or to move it, you know, at speeds less than 5 miles an hour. Don't be taking this down the highway. This is where this guy was an idiot. This one here, they're saying the TRX is coming back. Guys, I warned you, it may or may not have the V8, and I wouldn't bet on it having a supercharged engine. They want to say that likely it's going to come back with a supercharged engine, but I doubt it. And you know why? Because they already built the Huracan engine that has almost as much horsepower, and they're going to go with that. I got a feeling they're not. Guys, all right, hold on. Guys, I warned you Stellantis was bought only as a shell company for Dodge. They shelled the company so that they could sell their electric cars in the US. So Stellantis brought their products here and tried to sell them in the US because they were able to make cars here because they bought a company that already existed here. That was their reason for buying this. Where I had a problem with this whole thing is I knew because they were an electric car company, they were going to go ahead and gut the company to sell their electric cars. We have watched vehicle after vehicle after vehicle disappear. They are losing inventory. They are losing sales. They are dropping. This is why their CEO was let go. This is why they brought back the old CEO in order to try to revive this company before it totally tanks Stellantis. Stellantis had no idea what they were getting into. The biggest problem that they had was they got into a company that was already hemorrhaging money because they were running a program that was barely profitable because they were trying to be number one in an industry. And they were willing to sacrifice a lot to get there. They made really good cars back then, but they also had their failures and their issues. Their superchargers had bearing issues. They also had lifter collapsing issues and piston skirt issues on their 392s. That all being said, this is why I'm not trusting the revival of the company under the new CEO, who was the old CEO before Stellantis bought the company. You guys got to remember, Stellantis is still pulling the strings. They're the ones who are still going to call the shots. And they don't like gas engines. So don't think for a second they're going to be putting these engines in here. I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 it's going to wind up with a Huracan engine and not a Hellcat engine. Give me ones if that all made sense to you guys. Give me ones if that made sense to you guys. All right, guys, I'm saving some of this stuff for the Full Throttle After Show for obvious reasons. So I will be covering that over there. So what I was basically saying is that if my rant about Dodge and some of their failures made sense. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go ahead and end the show today. We had a really good show. We talked about quite a bit. I am going to go ahead and get cleaned up and call my customer on this thing and see what they want to do. Because I'm not sure how long the parts are going to be out. I need to make that phone call. Guys, I will be back with the Full Throttle After Show in about a half hour. That is going to be for members only. You can join for as little as $3 a month, and you guys will get the behind-the-scenes content. You guys will see first releases when we bring things out, when we do new things. You get discounts on merch. Once we get our merch store up, we do want to do that, but we are struggling with a few things that we got to take care of as far as housekeeping things. So we are working on this, guys. Plenty of stuff coming for the future. We are working on more content for you guys and working to build the channel. We are going to probably switch up some of our streaming and how we're doing things and where I'm going to put some new stuff. Again, I'll be meeting with my producer today, and we will be working on some of these things that are kind of dragging things backwards. I got a few messages throughout this stream that I do need to talk to my producer about. So I will be working on those as we go on. But guys, I want to say thank you for all your support. If you guys are checking us out on the replay, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you get notified when I go live, which is every Saturday at 1 p.m. and every Saturday at 4 p.m. for our Full Throttle After Show. And if you haven't become a member yet, consider hitting that join and join for as little as $3 a month. Guys, I will see